Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. In this video we're going to be looking at guns based on how well they should be in the hands of a capable player. So that means they're very accurate. They don't have to be perfectly accurate though. I'm making this video based on players that are accurate just because if a player hits most of their shots, then they're using the weapon near to its full potential. And I think when it's near its full potential, that is the most objective way you can look at how good the gun does. In this video we're also not considering economy, so then just imagine you have max budget in a round and then you're ready to spend for anything. Because we're considering that money is no object, we're also considering that the enemies have armor for all of the weapons. In this video I'm gonna cover each gun pretty lightly, but I plan on having videos later on covering each weapon more in depth in Valorant. If you're also curious about my opinion on guns based on how expensive they are and how well they perform, I plan on making a later top 10 of budget guns. Anyway, let's get started in the video. So first off, at number 10 we have the Ghost. So then the Ghost has a 2-shot headshot at 0 to 30 meters. It has a comfortable rate of fire and a pretty healthy magazine size. It's a pretty accurate weapon, but it's also decently accurate when you're strafing. So that's a nice touch that a lot of guns don't have. The strafing accuracy is not really something you want to rely on though, but it's something that's useful for close quarters battles. And also being a pistol, you also have a fast strafe speed, so that's nice too. As long as you land one headshot, it'll only take 2 more body shots or so to get the kill, so then it's decent. It's a number 10. So first of all, I just want to say, Spectre, what are you doing at number 9? The Spectre is good in the sense that it has a good rate of fire and it also has a pretty nice spread with controllable recoil. And it has a good rate of fire. Being an SMG itself, the Spectre also has a pretty nice strafe speed, so that's a small nice touch. The Spectre's moving accuracy is also pretty good, especially considering that it's not a gun that relies on getting headshots to kill. This makes the Spectre a pretty ideal gun to use in close quarters, but its accuracy really hurts it for long range. The only thing is that it's not a one-shot headshot, but at the same time, it also doesn't have very good accuracy either. There's not ways to consistently get headshots besides spraying. So then even though I think the Spectre is good, I don't think it's very top 8 material to say the least. At number 8, I have to begrudgingly admit that the Odin is better than the Spectre. It has more damage per shot and it also has a faster rate of fire. It also has a very large magazine size, and one of its drawbacks is that it starts off with a slow rate of fire and it ramps up like the Ares does, except if you aim down sights it starts up at its max speed. It doesn't have a very accurate first shot headshot. It can also pump out so much lead that you can probably get consistent damage at medium range. I won't say long range, but its spread is decently tight. But just like the Spectre, it's good in almost every other way, except it can't one-shot headshot and it's lacking in range and accuracy. Next, all the way at number 7, we have the Bulldog. It's a weapon that I think is really good, but I haven't used too much just because I feel a little uncomfortable using it. One of the Bulldog's main selling points is its 3-round burst. It's extremely fast and accurate, but then between bursts you have to wait kind of a while. It has good damage with if you land one headshot and one body shot, it'll kill from any range. Its fully automatic mode is pretty slow, but it can also be pretty accurate if tap fired. The only thing is that I feel like the Bulldog kind of relies on its burst mode in order to get value out of. It's not good in close quarters just because its fire rate is so slow and its spread isn't too great for its fire rate, and it kind of struggles at very long ranges just because its first shot is pretty accurate in the burst mode, but you have to land a second shot, and then even though the burst is pretty accurate at long ranges, that can be kind of difficult. Alright, at number 6 we have the Sheriff. The Sheriff is good just because it can one-shot headshot. I would say that's its main selling point. It can also kill in 3 body shots from any range. The only thing about that one-shot headshot is that after 30 meters, it doesn't fully kill the opponent. The Sheriff has a pretty small magazine size at 6. It has a rate of fire that's pretty slow but manageable. But I would say one thing that holds it back is the fact that after the first shot, the Sheriff becomes pretty inaccurate. The Sheriff, just like the other pistols, has a pretty nice spread and good strafing speed, but I would say that please do not strafe with the Sheriff just because 6 bullets in its magazine and a slow rate of fire. So even though it's not a bad spread, don't rely on it to land your headshot. I will say though that in close range, it's not so bad to strafe just because even the spread is tight enough to land 3 of those body shots you want. At number 5 we have the Marshal. It's a sniper that can one-shot headshot and 2-shot body shot. It has a rate of fire that, like the Sheriff, is slow but manageable. It also has a pretty surprising hip fire when standing still. It's not super tight, so for medium range things I would still not recommend using the hip fire, but I would say it's not even bad for close range. It also has a pretty nice strafe speed for a rifle. It's good for long range just because there's no damage drop off and it has a scope, and it can also handle things at medium range too just because of its nice rate of fire. The only thing though is that, as I said before, it has a pretty slow rate of fire, so then if you miss a shot, you'll be left pretty vulnerable. At number 4 we have the Guardian. It's a rifle that is semi-auto and can one-shot headshot from any range. It also has a pretty nice semi-auto rate of fire, and its spread is extremely tight. If you put enough space between your tap fires, you'll have extremely accurate shots. If you try to follow up your first shot really quickly, you'll start to lose your accuracy maybe after the second shot. But yeah, it's not a fully automatic weapon, so if you miss your first few shots, you could be punished very heavily for that. Especially if you want to keep your accuracy by tap firing. Its strafing accuracy is nothing to be very impressed about, and this weapon has a slightly higher zoom than the other assault rifles. Its fire rate also doesn't reduce when aiming down sights, so that's something to note if you want to aim down sights to use a zoom. At number 3 we have the Phantom. It is an assault rifle with a fast rate of fire, and it can also one-shot headshot at close ranges. But then after 15 meters, it can no longer one-shot headshot. It has controllable recoil and good accuracy, and it also has a good magazine size at 30 rounds a mag. It sounds like this gun has everything going for it between magazine size, recoil, rate of fire, and the one-shot headshot. It's a gun I consider to be really good at close quarters and medium range battles. But then the fact that it doesn't one-shot headshot at long ranges almost made me consider putting the Guardian at number 3. Just because hitting the enemy in an entire extra time along with recoil and bloom could make getting this follow-up hit a lot more difficult than just one-shotting with the Guardian. But its reliability as a full auto assault rifle makes it a little too hard to pass up for a top spot. So before we get into the top 2, I wanted to talk about some honorable mentions. There are guns that I think almost made the top 10. Honestly, I think these guns are just about as good as the Ghost, but then they are better in different ways and worse in some other ways. The Ghost is good just because it can be accurate and can 2-shot headshot, but the Frenzy can 2-shot headshot, except it has pretty bad recoil and it's not as accurate as a Ghost. The Ares is a gun that is good as a full auto, except it cannot be fully accurate and it needs 2 shots to headshot. The Judge is a gun that can one-shot, except it is pretty poor at long range. So then, as you can see, picking number 10 made it hard, but because the Ghost made it into the top 10 list, I feel like it wouldn't do these guns justice to not mention them while the Ghost is in the list. Anyway, let's get back to the number 2 and 1. So next up at number 2 we have the Operator. So then yes, this is the number 2 weapon. I think this is number 2 just because it has a lot of drawbacks to account for its one-shot body shot. Its one-shot body shot is really strong just because it can allow people to more freely try to get the one-shot off, but it has a very slow rate of fire, a slow strafe speed, and its scope limits it in a way where it zooms in so far that it makes it hard to battle close range. This is because when the opponent is close to you, if they're strafing, they move across your screen faster and they can get out of your peripheral vision a lot easier with the zoom in of the scope and the blocking of the peripherals by the scope itself. I only say that because its un-ADS hip fire is extremely inaccurate. So then say 2 people are coming at you, the Operator can't handle that just because its rate of fire is so slow. It can shoot one person, and then while you're charging your next boat, the other person can close the space and get to you. I do not want to undersell how strong the one-shot body shot is, but I also want to remind you guys that the Operator has a lot of built-in drawbacks. But what am I saying? It's all the way at number 2. Alright, so now we're at number 1, and the number 1 spot goes to the Vandal. It has a lot of the good points that the Phantom has, a little slower rate of fire, a little lower magazine capacity. Its recoil is only slightly larger but pretty much just as controllable. But it doesn't have the Phantom's main drawback of the damage drop-off. The Vandal can one-shot headshot from any distance. I think that along with the rate of fire that the Vandal has, with the controllability of the Phantom and all that stuff, those factors give it the edge over the Operator, just because it has essentially the same time to kill, because they both can one-shot. It's just that you have to be a little more accurate with the Vandal. And remember what I said at the beginning of the top 10 is that this top 10 list is based on players who are accurate, and many good players always train to hit their headshots. I think that in general the Vandal has more potential, just because, like how I said earlier with the Operator, like two people are coming at you. The Vandal can just one tap one person, one tap the next person. That's totally doable. It's just a little difficult. But then at least better than the Operator, where it's impossible. The rate of fire and the fact that you can accurately use it at hipfire makes it better than the Operator at close range, in my opinion. It's also perfectly accurate for most realistic ranges you find in a game. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed my top 10. I just want you guys to keep in mind that this list is based solely on my opinion. Your top 10 and my top 10 could look a lot different based on how much you value different things. Like for me, I value potential time to kill, accuracy, and range highly. While something that I think is important to a lot of guns that I didn't consider as much is how forgiving the gun is. That's just because when I was thinking of accurate players, I was thinking of players who usually hit their first shot. If you're a new player, even though these guns may seem hard to you, I recommend you guys to practice them anyway, just because if you are facing players who are good and they're the ones using guns that can kill you extremely fast, the only way you can keep up with it is to kill them in one shot or something like that. So if you practice with those guns, then you can keep up with the better players. Well, that's the video. Hope you guys enjoy your day.